This is going to be a short story, but interesting. This is a little video of Biden, and I haven't watched it yet, but I'm told that it's rather juicy. Room of shout at man. Shout at old, confused man.
Totally up to you, sir. All right, go ahead. Nandita, sir, no, sir. I didn't call on you, sir. Nandita, thank you. Nandita, go.
There have obviously been a number of crises that the country has been facing over the past several days with the hurricane, with the port strike, with the situation in the Middle East. Can you talk about how your vice president, who is running for the presidency, has worked on these crises and what role she has played over the past several days?
Well, I'm in constant contact with her. She's aware we're singing from the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws that are being employed now. She was a major player in everything we've done, including passage of legislation which we were told we could never pass. And so she's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing.
Very, very generic boilerplate response. But I think we saw this or something similar to this before. But anyway, I might make the point today because this is not the only thing we have on this story. Locking them together like that, it's probably what the focus groups or whatever the party the hierarchy believe is the best thing to do. Well, help Kamala share in the credit for all the good work we've done. The problem is that probably most Americans, not even just a lot of people who would otherwise vote Democrat, but probably most Americans don't believe Biden did a good job. And Kamala had an opportunity to make a somewhat clean break from that. If they had gone with the narrative of, like, Kamala saying, I think Joe's great and he's done a decent job, but unfortunately I wasn't allowed to be very much involved in those decisions. I had a lot of ideas that didn't quite make it to the table. I think now would be a good opportunity to try my new approach and, see what we can do. That might actually help her chances with Democrats who aren't happy with Biden and maybe even some independents who aren't happy with Biden. What they've done instead, namely what Biden has done instead, is to lock her. Nope, you're not leaving the bucket. Get back in the crab bucket with me. I'm locking you down to all our failures. Now, again, I don't know if he's our guy. The our guy thing's obviously a joke, but I don't know if he's doing that deliberately or if he's just following the script. But we have seen, since he was ousted, some small indications that he's not happy with his party, wearing the MAGA hat for one thing. The reason I'm showing this is, as I said, this is not the only thing we have on this today. We have another story on this. Again, not a very long one, but we'll maybe have a look into this some more. Where is it? There we go. So, Kamala Group is desperate to disassociate from Biden, says Eman. I wouldn't be surprised, and they are not friendly. The whole interlock thing, no, I don't think so. Kamala Harris is currently on The View, as the time this was posted, which is one of the worst programs that has ever existed. A bunch of shrill, unintelligent, and completely unlikable women talk about exactly what you'd expect, presenting reliably the wrong opinion on everything. And being extremely smug about it, while the very shrill audience of fellow harpies shouts loudly in approval at the end of their civilization. Kamala's on that, as you might expect, and I expect that's about the best she can do. She's actually gone to an interview, guys, yay! But it's on The View, never mind. And at the same time, Biden's on the other channel doing a press conference. Interesting. Now, what can we say about this? Can we say that Biden was trying to split The View away from Kamala to hurt her chances? Well, realistically, probably not, because Biden probably doesn't know where he is in this picture. More than likely, it's his team doing it. But I don't think his team like Kamala's team very much either. His team, Biden's team, might well have wanted Biden to be the next president. The president, again, even wanted him to be the candidate. And couldn't for whatever reason. So just a guess, that's a possibility, but maybe they set this up so that it would counter it. Maybe it's a coincidence. That is also possible, but if it is a coincidence, then it's not a very carefully managed one. You think they want to avoid that. The other possibility is that they want Kamala to go on an interview so they can say she's been on an interview, and they want people that really like her to watch her on the interview, but they don't want anyone else to see it. Their ideal would be as few people as possible ever witness Kamala doing anything at all because she's so utterly retarded and unlikable, she's in good company on the show she's on, that anyone actually observing her is going to stop voting for her. Except the people that like her the most, who are the only ones that would watch her when something more important's happening on the other channel that's also from the same approximate source, the Democrat Party. Or it's a coincidence. So maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it does seem like there is a distinct possibility that there is some conflict, some tension in amongst the Democrat Party. Cockcon says this is bumper railed to all hell. What do you mean by that, Cockcon? I've not heard that expression before. Ginger says, you know when a bad swimmer is sinking and then someone goes to try and rescue them, but then the drowning person drags the would-be rescuer both down? We just witnessed that in political format. Yes, I think so. Someone says tying them together is the best thing, just not how the focus group wanted. Maybe. So yeah, that's that. So I don't have actually anything else on this one, but keep an eye on it because this is fun. Watching because the left is quite good at infighting and backbiting, but they usually do it over ideological grounds. They usually do it over, well, no, actually, my ideology is more insane, but unlike you, my ideology is more insane, but I'm able to still survive because I do these things that it may allow me to ignore the cognitive dissonance of the insanity of my ideology. Beat that, and then they try and beat that by, no, my ideology is actually a lot more insane if you look at it this way, and with these extra 3 steps, you can prevent yourself from shitting yourself into a cognitive dissonance decline into suicide and believe in this insane nonsense. They compete on those grounds, and they do that a lot. If you ever see the left infighting over ideological grounds, they're not losing, they're just getting more dangerous. But infighting over like strategic ground, over who is the more prominent sort of shill for the overlords running the show behind the scenes, that's more uncommon. It's much more uncommon. So this is a good kind of infighting for the left to be doing, I think. Caligio says the right fights decision more than anyone. The right is usually fairly, not completely, but fairly solid on the ideas because the ideas are simpler. They're more down to earth. They're more reasonable. They're less innovative, but sometimes that's what you need. And there is innovation on the right as well, especially today, where you've got a bunch of fresh ideas on the right. Today is very different. The right is very much correct right now. Thank you, Buddha. But so that they're usually simpler, usually less innovative. So there's usually less to disagree on. Does still happen, but less than there is for the left, for sure. But the right does fight in terms of its actual leadership. That's how it should be, by the way. That's how it should be. The public should mostly be the origin for the definition of the ideology, and it should be, it should be relatively consistent from there. Yes, you can innovate as a leader and tell the public what they really need, not simply what they're asking for. Henry Ford, faster horse quote, etc., etc. But mostly it's defined by what the public want. And then you have you compete over who is the correct scion of that will. The left is the opposite. They compete over what is more insane, what they reckon they can get the public to believe and not kill themselves. And then they have the same leaders every time. They have the exact same influence of people with no contest over who leads them. And now that's changing, possibly. Maybe just temporarily, but it's interesting to watch. Maybe so, Calidrius, yeah. John Mick says, the whole left is one big crab bucket. Look how they attack anyone that climbs out. That's also true, yes. Come to look at the left's infighting as them simply sharpening their messaging by using each other as sacrificial whetstones. Well, everyone does that to some extent. Practice. It's why we play video games for a large part of it. It's why we have banter. But as I said before, with the left, it is a specific thing. It's not that they're competing over who will have power. They already have only one power structure. And, with the exception of times like this, which is very exceptional, they have one power structure which defines who gets to lead. And then the ideas are actually argued over intensely. They sharpen themselves on how insane their ideas can be. Not how reasonable they can be, just how like deeply leftist they can be without them wanting to kill themselves over the cognitive dissonance. But they don't tend to sharpen their leaders or their power structures or anything like that. The right is kind of the opposite. But again, today, the left's, I'm being unkind, but when times are better, the left does sharpen their ideas and they produce ideas that are not always insane. Still often, but they kind of have to because they're producing often new ideas. But they can produce ideas that are good. But you've gone to this spiral now where things are getting way worse. And during those times when it's healthy, the right's ideas are often actually kind of pointless. They try and go far too far towards safety and tradition when really what's needed at that point is innovation. And of course, me saying that it leads to where we are today, yes, but that is the cycle that you need for society to change in the right direction. You need stability and then innovation off that stability. But then the innovation inevitably goes too far, which means that people demand stability again. And it's not just going to go straight back to what there was before. It's going to be an like a synthesis of the new and the old, which is exactly what we're seeing now. I wouldn't be advocating for the truth of these patterns so often if it wasn't exactly what I see every day. The left's current iteration is currently interested in signaling anti-merit, and that is true. That is true.